20 left and asking how many paid. It's 11 paid. First prize 300k, 300k Canadian. So what's that get you?
Oh, I don't know, $4 or $5.
Zeno then lays down the Queen Jack. I reckon he'll take this hand to showdown.
I think it's like a 25% difference, something like that, from the US dollar. I don't know. You guys and your funny money with.
I like the money here because it's got the Queen on it.
Yeah, that's what I care about in my money.
Well, Louis again with Ace Queen up against Kings. He avoided it last time. This time might not be so easy.
It's the third time he's had to look at Queen, Ace Queen.
He does move all in. Zeno going to get a chance to win those chips back. Close to a 4 million chip pot here. It is, I think, Zeno at risk. Slightly shorter stack, but a much better hand.
3 years ago, Anthony Zeno won every single one of these. Since then.
That's how you win a lot of titles. Get it in good and hold.
Your hand's freezing. Yeah. Your hand's really cold.
Here we go then. Louis looking for that elusive ace. There it is. Not that elusive.
So elusive, right?
In the window.
Right in the window.
Out she pops. Ace 9 deuce. And I believe it is Zeno at risk, so we may be about to lose him unless he can find one of those 2 remaining kings on the river.
You count your stack.
I like it, do they? You know, you pay, you pay. 4 on the river. Paired off, we'll see. It's going to be close.
Tough one for Zeno.
I like it though. Zeno pulling out all the live tricks there, the old can you just kind of stack? Sam. Gus Hansen played a couple of weeks.
We're going to see some 100, 200 PLO or higher.
Hopefully
here.
bigger, I imagine bigger with the players we know coming in. Not sure exactly what the lineup's going to look like, but we do have a lot of fun cash games coming up this week.
If you see how wrong I can be about the hands here so far, just wait till we get into the
get
100, 200
cards.
PLO.
Look at this. Isildur with the aces on the button. This is just not fair. And we'll mark with ace 7 in the big blind.
Don't think it's going to fold.
Don't. Pretty clear call for him, and just have to hope to not make too much on this flop. Out of position against Isildur, and he's got aces. Not a spot you want to be in. And while 10-10-3, imagine Mark won't be folding this flop.
I wanted to say that so I could be right about one. But
No, I take the easy ones. If I'm not sure, I just throw it over to you and let you fumble around. Mark, of course, does make that call. Wow, a 10 on the turn. Makes Mark's hand look even a bit more on the strong side.
if you check here from Isildur, it's hard to get any action on the river anyway, so I don't really mind, just keep firing.
All right.
375.
Of course, as a card, Isildur is going to bluff a reasonable percentage as well, because Mark has to fold basically all his flush draws and that he's cool with on the flop. As well as, I guess, some just random high cards. Hard to see him folding ace high though.
Oh.
He does make the call. So 1.5 million chips in this pot going to the river.
10. Oh.
10, of course, would have been a chop.
Check.
River an 8 though. And Mark checks it over to Isildur once more. Now, Tyler, as we can see, cutting out. What sort of sizing? So he's going about half pot. Is that a bit more than half pot? You like a bigger size here, a smaller size? Is it?
Jeez. If they had a little bit more history, maybe a bigger size, but.
I mean, my point is, it's imagine quite hard for Isildur to give Mark credit for calling down with ace high, given he has 2 aces in his hand, right?
Right,
He's
exactly
expecting
right.
to see a full house more often.
That is exactly right. So the bigger sizing makes a lot of sense there.
875 the bet. do you feel? You check called twice against Isildur, and he's fired the third bullet. Wow, Mark does make the call. And we'll that's the bad news. Fabio says that Viktor Blom is running so good. Certainly picking up some hands at the moment.
Yeah, it's true.
So we got a couple of hands yesterday as well, actually. See, they're up to 59 big blinds. There you can see there, 17 remain. We are 1 away from our redraw. And we get to the last 2 tables.
1-4.
Look at Mark McDonald. Had a big stack for a decent portion of this tournament now. Still our table chip leader.
4.
With 54 big blinds.
Jonathan with 21 big blinds in the cutoff. He's jack off.
Obviously Mark the table chip leader, but with only just above average, so you see a lot of chips on the other 2 tables in this room.
150,000.
Jonathan is going to raise it up with his ace jack.
This is 4.
Michael Watson, 10-7 offsuit in the big blind. Does call. I'll go heads up.
Heads up.
Oh, 7-8-8. Michael takes the lead with his 7. Let's check it. Jonathan's ace high. Imagine Tyler, I was going to say, you can check back here. He doesn't want the pot to get too big with just ace high. Figures have the best hand a lot on that board, and even more so now. Third 8's emerged. And this is a spot where Michael just can always bet and bet pretty big, right? Because Jonathan's check back has showdown value a lot, I guess.
Yes, but if he was checking back just over cards, now he's probably going to pull the trigger and represent ace high, so
7 bet.
you could get action if you check.
He's bet 300. Expect against a hand as good as ace jack high. Get action either way.
Again, I don't think we're seeing a fold here.
He does, of course, make the call. We need to hit an ace and jack or an 8 on this river. Oh, there's the ace. Easy
Wow.
game. Easy
Poor Watson's
game.
going to be in a really tough spot again.
Yeah, I mean, when he checks, Jonathan's just... He's just going to expect Jonathan to pile this river with nearly everything.
Check.
Everything that isn't value and an ace and an 8 and a 7. But he's not piling it with things that are like... I mean, I don't think he's piling with things that are like 4s or king, queen.
All right, so you think he'd check back those and just hope to be good? Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. 1 million.
King anything, I guess.
White House put enough chips into the pot to put Watson all in. And for the second time in a row, he's in a horrible spot.
This is brutal.
First one maybe a little bit more of his making my bet the turn. He did invite himself to be in a tough spot. This one, just unfortunate run out. I mean, Jonathan has played this. He could easily have ace high, right? He's checked back for flop, but ace high figures to be good on almost all the time. Calls a turn bet, and now shoves a river when checked to.
What kind of hands can he be calling with on the turn and then bluffing the river? It can't be that many.
All right. Yeah, I guess it all comes down to whether, you think he's going to bluff some of those king highs he's called on the turn, or whether he's just going to try and take him to showdown. I mean, these guys would have played a lot with each other through the years.
Yeah. Mike Sir Watts online probably played a lot on, along with Ape Styles, John Van Fleet.
Certainly I remember those two back in the day online. MTTs. I actually remember once in the like 100 rebuy online, being near the bubble. And within the 100 rebuy online used to have like a 800 min cash or something, and I ran a big bluff on on Michael Watson on the bubble, and it didn't work. And I sent to Moorman, I went, "How's this guy? Well, he's made the call.
Decide to call.
Shrugs and calls will get the bad news." Well, partly maybe the previous hand playing into that thought process. He's like, I can't fold again, surely. Like, and will depart. I believe then with that we are down to 16.
We're going to get a new featured table here now, huh?
We will get.
It looks kind of like...
sick brags coming out here.
kind of looks like this one. But I've heard that there's some nicer brand that Hublot copied. That's probably what's going on there.
Well, Kevin again with a playable hand. 3 bets, then raises again, this time with the ace-queen.
What's the most viewers you've ever gotten? Like a session?
16K.
Jonathan calls from the small blind with ace-6 of diamonds.
I chopped scoop 215 warm up.
People don't flat the small blind very often, so you can kind of define your opponent's range a little bit when they do.
Wow, the flop this is for Gal. 8 high, but double gut shot and a flush draw. Jonathan
You can
top
watch
pair.
any stream for free. It's just if you want to pay $5 to subscribe, you pay $5.
Not a lot of times you lead into the razor, but this might be one of them. So you have top pair, and it's pretty vulnerable top pair. You'd like to just end the hand right now.
Lex has like 2,000, like 2,100 or something, like subs, and I have like 1,100. That really comes down to like consistency. It's pretty crazy on Twitch and shit. Like people who average like 300, 400, 500 viewers, like they just stream. Like a lot of them just stream like literally 7 days a week.
You might want to get aggressive
day.
with this.
And even though
Since
they
you're
only
a
have,
big
like,
blind, you can
300 viewers,
represent
they have,
pretty
like,
much
1,000
anything.
subs.
You can have the 7-3, we can have the deuce 3,
Wow.
we can have
Right.
anything. So.
I always thought it'd be like a lot harder to
You
get
just go with a call.
donations as opposed to
Pretty easy
players.
now for
Because
Kevin to get out of the way.
I get virtually none. Like Spraggy, like, if you know who that is, like he gets a decent chunk, and Lex gets a bunch.
Sometimes you can
Well, I just meant compared
get
to,
aggressive
like,
later if you want.
video
in
games
hand,
with
Yeah.
so.
StarCraft,
Of course,
then they like give you money, but if they
Go
want
ahead and take a
gambling
peel.
money, then
Big turn there for Jonathan, gives him a top
They see me
2 now.
K6 max hyper, you know, they're just like,
Just
fuck
gonna
this
donate
guy.
Changed
even
too
though
much
I'll
for
give
Gal
him
though. Still
$5.
has that live straight and flush draw.
1.2 in the
But,
pot, they have
90% of them
3.7.
these days tell me I'm a losing player, so they should really be fucking hucking that money at me so I can keep going.
this is true.
Tonka's really spiced up the
He's pretty funny.
table chat.
He is a funny guy.
I want them to unblock the shark scope of all the Stars pros. I think that would be an interesting day.
Mine's blocked.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm like pretty open with like everybody. Like I don't know. It's just blocked for now.
Meanwhile though, Tyler, Gal obviously in a weird spot
Yeah.
here. Right?
He doesn't need to look me up.
Jonathan's
I already know
led
I'm not gonna
twice on this, calling from the small.
He knows everything.
This is a
there
spot
is
Gal thinks he could make a big bluff. See a lot of equity against most of his hands.
Doesn't matter
You
how
might
strong
be able to
plays.
get a
It's just
2-pair
solution.
hand to
You just
fold,
play
but
the
not
solution,
a6.
then it's
Right,
like-
that's
Maybe
it.
4-5, 5-6, 5-4. Those hands could actually
That's what they tell
fold.
me anyway.
But it's hard even to give. I mean, obviously we can see
Viktor
Jonathan's got
kicks
top 2,
your
but
fucking
it's hard to give him that many
He's beat the
like
solution.
ace 4, ace 5, ace 6 that call from the small blind. You'd
I was
think
saying that the other day,
that's what he
man, you know,
has.
like everybody like overbetting all the time and doing all this shit. It's like fucking. So I was just talking with somebody and they were like, "Man, Israel really had it solved, didn't
Wow,
he?" Like,
he's
6
just
cool.
years ago.
calling again.
Just as like.
I mean, you can be aware that
before,
Jonathan
like,
has a
super hits
pretty
it.
Him and
strong
Durr
hand
were
at this
just, like,
point. If he's going to
battling,
lead
like, 5
twice
1K before
on
I
that
even
board,
played poker.
he
Yeah.
is likely to
Yeah,
have
I
a
mean, I
pretty strong
remember
hand.
sitting in university in fucking.
Wow, what a run out. Turns 2 pair,
history
rivers the
class
house.
and railing their fucking like 1K,
I think
2K
Gal
heads up matches on
probably
full tilt, you know,
avoided
on my
getting
laptop.
That's why I only play limit.
all of
with
his
Viktor,
chips
so
in.
that way he can't overbet. He just, oh, you want to bet? You can only bet the limit. Too bad, but
You guys play some mix,
eight
yeah?
games.
Wow,
Wow.
Jonathan going to check now. That's spicy.
And he gets those 8 hands and he fucking
what a
Very, very
No limit.
spicy, as you say.
is a 6.
Gal on a bit of a spot here.
cap though. So the The violence is.
It's just
It's
a
not
high.
so
Knows
bad.
he can't win at
Actually, the
showdown.
first time I played
40
it,
blinds, right?
I don't know if he remembers this. He probably doesn't, because like I was playing a Solder.
This is where you need some emotional detachment because you thought you were going to win this hand. You had this big draw, and you're going to get there and win a big pot, and then this terrible run out shows up. If you can detach yourself from that, you might still be aware that this is a give-up spot.
And all of a sudden I was stuck, and then
Going
it
for it.
crushed me through the next round. All of a sudden I was losing 20,000. It was
Just
like
under half the pot,
20-hour
looks like.
session. I'm just going to
Oh my god, I'm just losing your mind, dude. Fuck.
It might have only been 5 out of the 6.
Jonathan doing the old.
But it
How
was
much is
like-
it? What is it?
Whoever's being up 20,000.
What is it? How much you got back?
Just like draw straight down. Just like, oh.
Do you ever get like, because you said a bunch, right? Like, do you ever just get people who
Obviously,
like, don't
Jonathan's
know,
hoping at this point the Gal, I guess, was.
I like 40-80.
It's hard to give him obviously a full house the way the sounds played out, but may have
randoms,
flopped
I
a
guess.
straight or something. Well, he just obviously does check raise all in. Gal will give up the 8
Show
high.
one card. Show one card.
I played like
Oh, I'm glad I didn't see that turn.
mostly it's just regs.
In hindsight, it's easy to say
Occasionally I
it
like
would have been
2-4,
better for him
like
to
400,
get
800, you'll
more
get
aggressive
somebody
on
who,
an,
like-
on an earlier street.
When I started, I was terrible, but I just find it
But
more
maybe that might be balanced enough.
more
Top
things
pair is
going
such a
on.
weak value hand
I'm just too
versus
stupid, you know. I
the
gotta
other
focus on, like,
big
this
value
game.
hands that you might lead.
I don't have time to learn a bunch more. Here we go.
Christopher's going to raise this one up, 250. Well, Jonathan has Queen Jack on the button. Just 6.8 million after that last hand.
Ooh, 3-betting with the Queen Jack off right after winning the big pot.
What do you think about taking Queen Jack off as one of those hands you're going to 3-bet bluff with? You dominate quite a lot of the hands that get open from the hijack, I guess. Maybe a lot of people try and take the hand like that to the flop.
It's not a great multi-way hand when it's offsuit and you invite the blinds in if you just call. I mean, if I'm playing against weaker competition, I think calling is fine. But once you get to a 10K, a high roller, final 2 tables, I think I like 3-betting a little bit more.
Well, Chris has called with his pair, and Jonathan's outflopped him, pairing that queen. And once you 3-bet Queen Jack, how do you proceed here now when you've been called and flop a pair? Obviously, it's hard to ever be up against a weaker queen, but
That's true.
pretty easy to be up against a stronger one.
The pot's already bloated a little bit, so you get some pretty light calls if you bet the flop. So I think you can go ahead and bet the flop.
Does bet small, 450 is the bet.
I don't hate checking back against a super aggressive, tricky opponent. You don't want to be put in a really tough spot. So checking back can get you to the river cheaper.
Well, Chris,
But if you're going to get called by 3s, I think you should probably just bet the flop.
right, you can bet small there with your whole range, can't you, on Queen 8-5. Diamond on the turn. Christopher checks it on over to Jonathan once more. Christopher does have the lone diamond in the pot. Bit of a weirder spot now for Jonathan. You feel like just pretty standard check back here.
Well, disregarding the stack sizes, this is a really similar spot to Watson with his kings earlier. Because there's a lot of hands that are going to have to call now because they connect enough with that board. So you forego value by checking. But you keep yourself safe. You don't have to deal with a check raise.
Interesting river there. Ace.
Could feasibly hit either opponent, so
Right.
either could decide to represent it.
This thing, right? Chris raised pre-flop, called a 3-bet, check called, obviously a really small flop bet, so he does have like a choke amount of ace highs in his range. Whereas Jonathan probably checks back at his strongest ace highs, right, on the flop. So maybe Chris has these a little more. And he is.
He also
out a
can't
bet.
win if he checks. So, ooh, this looks like a
He's gonna
hefty
go
one.
big. It's like 2.3, 2.4.
Wow, that's a big bet.
Bet 2.3. 100,000.
That's not representing an ace. I mean,
No, I was about to
it's-
say, this is obviously a polarizing bet, right? It's a
Yeah.
much more bluff or nutted hand.
aces up or 2 pair. I mean, aces up or a flush is basically. I guess straights too. There's a lot of hands out there that it could be. I think it's feasible or a credible bet, and it's a really tough spot for Abe Styles.
Pretty ballsy. Obviously, with a hand like Queen Jack, he doesn't actually block it. I mean, he had a Jack, I guess, so he does block Jack 10, but doesn't block anything of those value hands. You'd think. I suppose maybe Ace Queen.
Ace Queen, yeah. It never gets. Well, I don't know. Does it decrease on when you get on a 4-handed?
When we go to 5-handed, we decrease to a small blind.
Okay. Well, 6-handed is just about the same size as
You want to sell out
the
before
normal
you play?
antes when everyone's paying their own. So it doesn't get that big. It just gets bigger than where it started.
Unemployed.
240.
240. What is it?
Mark. 240.
It's 6120. All right.
So Mark has minimum raise this one. First hand of the new blind level,
He tried to raise it less than the minimum.
causing some confusion.
1.4.
Oh, we get to see Parker get involved finally.
You think he's going to play that one?
I've been
Well,
wrong
you've
before.
been wrong a lot. Yeah, you might just kick it in. Something tells me he might 3-bet the button with aces. That's something.
What's YYZ? Is that an airport code?
C2 re-raise 125,000.
Toronto. Say that right?
I don't know.
Toronto.
Didn't say it like anybody I know.
C3 fold. Two advanced switches.
All right, he has 3-bet those aces.
C4 fold.
I bet there's some sort of joke in there. Airport code. He's got American Airlines. Like,
Whoa.
where can we work it? I'm just not smart enough to make the link.
Jeez.
McDonald though, with King 10, not the kind of hand you're going to want to proceed with to a 3-bet too often.
I feel like Stapleton would have worked in a better American Airlines joke
Yeah,
there.
he would have done. I'm blaming jet lag.
Wow, there we go.
Boom!
Nice job, nice
That's
job.
why they pay me the small bucks. Well, Mark's not giving this one up just yet. Is he going to do something silly? Is he going for the 4-bet? He's reaching. Here it is, Tyler. Here it is.
All right, here it comes.
Do we have a real-time punt-off here? Of course, you know, we can see Parker has aces, but there's no reason he has to have aces when he 3-bets the button. Mark taking King 10 and using it as, well, it's an okay hand, but it's a terrible hand to call 3-bet with, so besides of the hands he's open with, it's one of the nicer ones, perhaps,
1.7.
to make this 4-bet with. Obviously, ace-X would have been a better candidate, I guess, but a king does help somewhat. And then Tonka, Tyler, I mean, just call here.
I mean, I prefer just call here, yeah. But I don't know. It's tough because you're not going to be calling with that many speculative hands. So your
Right.
opponent's some alarm bells are going to go up if you call.
So yeah, I mean, how do you balance just the call here? What hands would you have to have in there?
That's a good question. So what's the sizing here? 3-bet is to 825. The 4-bet is to 1765. It's smallish, but it represents a large portion of their stack. So you're not going to be calling with too much. You'd be getting such a good price with a hand like Queen Jack suited that it's hard to fold it.
Right, but he doesn't have. I mean, Parker, does he have many Queen Jack suited when he 3-bets the button?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he doesn't always 3-bet Queen Jack suited. He's going to call Queen Jack suited sometimes, but you're going to 3-bet it sometimes.
Just the old check back of the hand. What did I have again? I mean, everything I see more in poker, that's just to me seems the biggest tell.
I think that the alarm bells are going to be too high with these stack sizes,
Right,
so
he
I
has
think it's
just over
probably
pot behind. So
just don't scare your opponent off of face queen and just go ahead and go all in, you know?
he does move all in. And well, Mark will make a quick fold. Whoops.
But even with the alarm bells, though, if you call and the flop comes with a king or a 10, I mean, you're going to get at least one more bet from.
Yeah, it was something that was discussed. We discussed with Philip Gruesome in Barcelona about the high rollers. He said, especially in high rollers, having these chip leads at this stage of the tournament is so huge because you can exert so much pressure on the bubble of a high roller because these guys are so aware of the correct ICM strategy. They just don't go bust, especially with these big min cashes. Because there's no overall chip leader here. One of these guys had, say, 100 bigs would be a lot easier to put pressure on. Well, Chris with jacks, he'll raise those up. Wow. Mark with pocket tens on the button. But this is kind of a ICM spot, right? You can't. It's not like there's 40 left and you can start to want to play big pots at pocket tens. He's got to be a little bit wary that he has a comfortable stack.
Absolutely, yeah. I would think that he's probably just going to call here.
Exactly what he does.
This is a proper sweat. If we bring this one, I'm fucking winning the tournament.
And are they letting
Now I've bubbled.
Van Fleet sit there but folding his hand as the penalty?
I'm not sure. I think maybe he just followed too quick there. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe he did get a penalty. I saw obviously he was spoken to. I'm not sure exactly what the result was.
All good.
I really thought I had it. Heads up.
We both have a diamond for a backdoor flush draw.
Check.
After getting checked too, this is an interesting spot for Mark.
He
And
does
check it also.
check it back.
They're both trying to get to the river cheaply, but this card should
Yeah.
make both of them a little more comfortable.
Yeah, great call for both hands, and obviously they both have a diamond and a club, but I'm a little concerned with two flush draws out there. You imagine then Christopher will bet now, Tyler?
I think so. I think it's going to go back call. The river might get interesting though.
We're like 2 mil, right? Like 2 million.
He's betting pretty big.
Wow, 630. Oh, it's 530. Okay.
630,000.
It is 630.
That's a hefty bet.
2/3 of the pot.
Still don't see Mark folding. This board is just too good for him.
I mean, Mark's doing this suggestion, but as you say, it's just a clear call, isn't it? He's not folding, he's not raising.
I mean, he might be considering folding.
Doesn't make the call.
But yeah, I mean, it could just be a timing balance thing. He knows he's calling right away and just doesn't want to give that information away.
Well, card that neither player will like to see.
It's an interesting river. I don't think either person is going to turn their hand into a bluff. I think we're probably going to get check-check.
Again, Chris pretending perhaps that he has a decision to make, but like you say, it's no way you can really bet jacks on this river. No reason to turn your hand into a bluff, is there?
He could throw out some kind of small blocking bet, I guess.
Well, and it's like, might be what he's doing. Got a pretty good read of where his opponent's at with this bet. Like you say, doesn't want to check or face a bigger bet. If he's up against a hand like Mark has. Also, I guess, you know, some of the ace combos that Mark got to the river with would be, you know, the two nut flush draws. And given that Chris has jack clubs and jack of diamonds, it does remove quite a few of the ones he would have called with pre right on the button.
Maybe, yeah.
You expect him to 3-bet ace king suited. Obviously, ace queen suited with your hand, so it's just ace jack and ace 10 suited, I guess, the ones he's thinking that get to the river and pair that ace. What do you think Mark's thinking of here? Is he always thinking of, is it just a consideration of calling or folding, or is there any part of him you think that's lining up a big bluff?
Yeah, there's definitely a part of him thinking that.
Obviously, he got caught 4-betting not long ago, making his big move.
I mean, the ace might actually make Mark think that Christopher can't have jacks or kings anymore.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's his move. He wouldn't ever. I don't think he'd expect Chris to bet those hands. So he's thinking maybe he can make him fold
So he would have had to
some ace. He's got
open
there
an
with.
ace, check the ace on the flop, and then bet. It's definitely not out of the question. Ace could really be in either player's hand.
Time.
Floor.
Well, we got the clock called on him.
Time has been called.
Yeah, it's weird. This bet size looks like it's only an ace. Doesn't expect the kings and jacks to bet like this. And how did he get an ace to this river? Raises pre, checks the flop, bets 2/3 pot on the turn, which is kind of an odd sizing with ace high. So it is kind of a goofy
Kept
line.
it down on the river.
Yeah, very goofy line that Chris has taken here. Doesn't rep that many hands. And there we go. Mark does therefore make a call. And well, we've got the bad news. Pipped by 1 spot.
Nice hand, sir.
So Mark down to 4.4 million. Christopher nearly at the 10 million chip mark. Yeah, that's kind of a funny hand.
What you should do when it comes to calling the clock. I just call the clock anytime anyone takes more than 2.5 minutes on a decision.
That's what I was trying to
And
do.
I was like,
Exactly 2.5,
I
huh?
was like 45 seconds off calling the clock myself.
Oh, I do it at 2 minutes. I thought
2
it was
minutes?
2
Yeah, I do like 2.5, 3 minutes.
Wow, these guys are really balancing their clock calls.
Yeah.
I just when a guy takes too long, I call a clock. I mean,
Well, see Sean tapping the table there. 2 more cards to come. So, well, he's shaking hands. So
Already
I'm
over.
guessing he's drawing dead by then. So Sean
like
departs.
that pot's going to Isildur again.
The machine. It's funny. Every time he's away from the feature table, he just wins all these pots. Comes to the feature table, doesn't do much.
That dealt a lot.
We
of
christened him Nitzelder in Rosvedov. 'Cause he played the big cash game. It didn't really do much.
That's great.
But then, of course, he did just take down the main event there. So, you know,
There's a couple of really big stacks. Those are way bigger than
Yeah.
we have here.
looks to be the chip leader by my eyes there.
Back to this hand in progress.
Kind of fun. Jonathan's bet his gut shot to the wheel. Parker's top pair.
This is looks like a C-bet pre-flop, or a C-bet. I think Jonathan was the pre-flop raiser. Parker defended the big blind.
Wow.
Oh, we're getting fancy.
Doing something
Raise.
messy. Check raising with just the top pair. This is a
700.
not unusual line, Tyler.
It is an unusual line, and it's what's interesting is Jonathan has the type of hand that usually takes this line.
Right, the nut
Yeah.
blocker, gut shot.
Wheel draw and overcard. I mean, so I mean, if I'm Jonathan, that's the kind of hand that I think people are bluffing with. I think that Parker has a real hand. I
Right.
wouldn't. That's what I would assume. I wouldn't necessarily assume a real hand is top pair with an 8 kicker.
But then, of course, on the flip side, he may be calling here thinking there's so many good cards that he can bluff with on the turn. Obviously, hearts, some straightening cards.
He does have the turn, or he does have the position.
Well, 4 on the turn doesn't change anything. Now Parker's built this 2.2 million pot out of position with top pair. It's kind of a very weird spot yet again here.
Very tough spot for him now. That 4 actually takes some hands away from Parker that he could have to have been checking it.
Two pair combos are less likely.
600,000.
So you bet 600,000. He can still be called by worse hands such as draws and things, but there's not. This would be kind of the last chip, so imagine he puts in the pot aggressively. Wow! Look at this. Look at this.
I think Jonathan might think he has the best hand.
I think he thinks he's up against maybe a hand like 6-7.
6-7, 6-8, or just any 2 hearts. I mean,
wow. Ace on the river will do it for Jonathan. He now has the better hand. Well, Parker's built this big pot that he's almost certainly going to lose. 3.5 million in the pot. Check. What does Jonathan do here? I mean, can he value bet this?
I'd be surprised if he does, but
And you think Parker does not check raising 1 pair too often on that flop, so it's either bluffs or 2 pair plus, and those hands are either going to fold or have you beat on this river.
wow, he really, I think he just has Parker pegged here. Oh, man, I don't know.
Yeah, and he's gone big as well, 1.9 million.
1.9 million.
This is incredible. I mean, it's just so. I mean, it's an amazing bet if you can see Parker's cards, but it's so hard to get Parker.
Absolutely.
He's either got better than a pair or bluffs nearly all the time here. But he has made this check raise with just top pair on the flop and put himself in this really difficult spot. I mean, Jonathan, of course, himself has all the big hands on the flop. He's bet the flop and called a check
Right,
raise. He's going to slow play a lot of big hands, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of wish like a king or a queen came on the river because I just wanted to see how they were going to play that.
How long does Parker wait till he calls the clock on someone?
Exactly 2.5 minutes. That's what he said.
I hope Mark was timing this one.
I think I'm a pretty quick player. I've always thought that about myself. But then when playing with the shot clock, I'm surprised how much pressure it puts on me.
Christopher pocket queens.
Seat 1 raise, 350,000.
Wow, trouble for him because he's opened his queens. But Viktor Ramdin sat behind with the aces. Just 4-bet the 3-5 the hand before.
He's probably going to get to 5-bet this one.
Re-raise, 900,000.
It's at 900.
Seat 3 fold. Seat 4 fold. Seat 5 fold. Seat 6 fold. Sorry, which letter?
It's kind of
No, it's
fun when you get a hand like queens against someone like Viktor Ramdin, who we saw yesterday. 3 bets and open so many hands.
You can decide to keep the worst of them in right now, or
I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. Most people, probably queens is usually a little bit too wide to be trapping with. It's kind of one of the hands I guess you want to forward her value and get in, but a little different dynamic though. 9 hands on this final. They are. He does just move all in. Snap call. Aces versus queens then. 13.5 million chip pot on this final table. Christopher at risk. His pocket queens against the aces of Viktor Ramdin. And just a little desperate there. Walking to such a strong hand. Still win though. Eight, 7, deuce, the flop, 2 diamonds, both players with 1. So Christopher will need just one of those queens.
They both have diamonds, so that's not going to work.
Yeah. It's in bad shape here. We'll need a queen, otherwise he finished his 9th. He's doing the old early pay. Stopping short, putting the jacket on as the river comes. 3 of hearts, no good for Christopher. Viktor Ramdin will knock him out in 9th place. Chris will pick up $27,500 for his efforts.
And Viktor now, massive chip lead. That was a big pot. Finally getting a little bit of an open up in early position. Ami is the shortest stack with queens.
Yeah, a little over 20 bigs.
Actually, Moorman might have less.
Wow, getting
Just
sneaky.
That's going to bring David in, I think. It does. David comes along with the king-queen off. Moorman's probably coming in with a 10-8 suited.
Yeah.
If they were deeper, he'd probably 3-bet. I don't think he's going to in this case.
Sizing up his options, 1.4 already in the pot. That's 3.8 million. Wow! More firing it in.
Yeah.
Wow, what a boss. Going for it here.
It really is.
I mean, obviously, Kevin's going to get out of the way, but Ami's laid the trap here with the pocket queens.
Yeah, perfectly.
The only saving grace for Moorman, of course, is that Ami's the only player at the table he covers.
To Moorman's credit, the only way this doesn't work is if he runs into it in the blinds or someone was actually trapping with their calls.
But I mean, I guess David could have a hand like
The end of the
calling
gun
behind.
raiser could also.
Yeah, David could be flatting a hand like 9s, I guess.
Moorman has too many chips for that. I think David folds those hands.
There will be one.
He's jammed just over 20 bigs. Sorry, he's
Yeah,
banned
I
about
guess.
23, 24 bigs.
I guess he does have to call with those.
But yeah, it'd still be a weird spot. Well, here we go, though. Ami is in great shape here to double up through Chris Moorman. Moorman will be left with, well, only about a 1 big blind. He's way behind with the 10-8 of hearts, but Moorman's got out a few of these in his life.
Yeah. It's fair to say. It's usually against ace-king that he gets out of them, though. Against
Yeah,
queens is pretty tough.
This is setting you. This is making life difficult for yourself here.
That's already a sweat.
Let's see how he does. Ace, 6, deuce,
Not
rainbow.
a lot of sweat.
I mean, looking at great shape here. 97% to double up.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's part of the game. It's poker.
Well, 10 gives Moorman a pair.
Wait a second.
Here we go then. 10 or 8 on the river for Moorman. Otherwise, Ami will double up. Three of diamonds on the river. No good for Chris, and you can see there he's going to be left with.
I think you have like 200K or something.
No, I don't think so. These
Yeah, I know they weren't, but
To our graphics, he has
He
10,000.
might just be down to 10,000 chips.
Wow, we might experience that crazy situation where they're always.
don't you fucking dare.
Oh, you got the suits covered.
Both of them.
Well, Moore is right. Suits are covered.
Parker said he would give up a pinky rather than double up Moorman. And now he's in a spot to do it.
Someone run out there, take a pinky.
At 6 big blinds.
Make a big pull, like 2 times or something.
Before it was a sign, I'll hit 6.
I figured you had a big pair, but let me
Yeah, I mean-
I folded to you, but I wanted to call just because of that, just in case.
Please, let me keep the pinky. Okay.
Well then, Moorman at risk here. 8 left. Will need a lot of help here. Ace Jack 4, no good. Needs a 6 to stay alive.
Gonna buy some time.
Exactly what I wanted to have.
3 of diamonds on the turn. Changes nothing. Moorman then looking for one of those 2 6s. It is a 7. Crossbar. So Chris Moorman leads in 8th place. Gets himself $35,000 for his efforts. So it does make the call.
It's 450, right?
These two will go heads up to the flop. 3.9 already in the middle. Most time this one's slowing down. These guys are going for it.
Yeah, it wasn't that small of a three. I mean, it was a smallish squeeze, but when they have 40 bigs between all of them, it's not that small because it's still a lot of pressure on your stack.
10, 5, 6, 2 diamonds. Jonathan has a backdoor flush draw. It's a bet of 1.1 million.
1.1.
That's pretty small, so when he gets called here, or I mean, he could easily get raised here, but if he gets called here, he hasn't defined Isildur's range much because the bet's just too small.
Right. Isildur will, most likely just call here because, well, he's in position. He doesn't necessarily want to get the whole lot in here in this spot, and it's hard for his opponent, I guess, to go completely ape. See what I did there?
Lovely,
These,
lovely.
well, he has turned a gut shot, Jonathan. Let's say it's 6 million in the pot. Is he really going to put Isildur to the test here?
It's hard to get anything that was going to call the flop to fold now. Except that bet was so small that a big bet could do would mean something else.
Right, but he has to basically risk the whole stack now, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
To make this bluff. It's one of these spots where you ask yourself, how am I in the 6 million chip pot with the king 3? What happened?
I mean, this is a spot where you can give yourself a decent price. Since he bet so small on the flop, he could bet around 2 million to give himself a decent price at hitting the river. If he doesn't get jammed on, but probably will get jammed on.
9 bet 2 million.
Wow.
That's exactly what he's trying to do, but I think Isler's going to put it in.
2 million is the bet. Well, so we can see Jonathan's way out of line here, but does Isildur know that? Does he know that he's going to be making this play as wide as this? Isildur using a rare time chip.
All of Jonathan's sizing has been consistent with very good hands, too.
This is a horrible spot for Isildur.
He's just not going to get bluffed again on the river, so I think you just take the equity you got, put it in now.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Man,
I mean,
that's a
I
big
can't.
fold.
I can't really fault Isildur. It just looks so strong.
It does.
this
It
line.
looks very strong. I totally agree with that.
And then Ami flats the bottom of Queen at hearts. And that will David in for cheap from the big blind with 7-5 of spades. That's the kind of hands you want to have to take on the aces. Well, Queen 9 deuce. Ami flops top pair with a backdoor flush draw. Isildur's aces still out in front. Dave with nothing but the backdoor spade draw. And look at this. Checks all the way around. And Queen on the turn. It's This is
Isildur checks that flop.
he checks and checks again, and Ami's going to bet, and there's obviously Isildur. I don't think gives him credit for checking back an ace on this board, so
100,000.
he's going to, I guess, play his 2 check calls. 700,000 the bet.
So you Dutch or German then or something?
Yeah, you can't read
Dutch or
that.
German then?
Wow.
Wow, he's going for the min check raise. He wants to join in with these crazy raises.
400,000.
Obviously feeling a player like Ami's not going to fold anything for 700,000 more that he's bet for value.
It's so strange. Ami can't even really love it, I don't think. I mean, I
Right.
assume he's going to call and see what happens.
Does indeed make that call. 4.8 in the pot.
Yeah, exactly.
He's 3.4 behind. Oh my word!
Unbelievable.
What a river for Isildur.
That and just snap
He
all
moves
in.
all in.
The check raise on the turn.
It's funky.
It's kind of like the limit hold'em play where you raise to make it so that the next street you can get a cheaper card.
Right.
So the river he'd get to showdown cheaper by doing that check raise. If he checks again, he might not have to pay much or anything.
Well, what he did do was check raise with 2 outs, ping them on the river, and now he has moved all in. Ami in a world of hurt here.
I could see him getting away from this one. Not saying it's easy or that he even should, but I can see it happening.
I don't know how he can. What's Isildur supposed to have here?
The line is super funky.
Ami has, as just saying, I mean, basically the best hand he's ever got here. Check back Queen 9-2. I don't think that anything better. And you're playing Isildur. Right, throwing in a few time chips.
I think I've had way too many fucking Red Bulls. So far. My water's good.
Does Isildur take this line with a queen?
Well, I don't think I've ever seen this line, period.
There we go. It's so weird.
Maybe he does it with 9s full or deuces full. Or ace queen. Wouldn't expect him to have aces. There's also a chance that the turn was a weird bluff, and now he just has a pair of aces and
Wow.
thinks it's good.
Ami lets it go. He doesn't think it can be a bluff.
Incredible. I mean, he can't beat anything but a bluff, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he's not shoving an ace.
Oh, Queen 8 deuce, 1 heart, Tyler.
He's halfway there.
There's a chance. I'll take that.
Just one more heart, you know? No.
Oh, just a queen then. Oh, Parker will be the next man out.
Unbelievable.
It is a queen. It is a queen. Parker Talbot, king queen against kings, rivers, chip,
Reasonable.
trip queens.
2 outs, so what? Saying they say in baseball.
Shouldn't have talked into drinking that.
Back and I started panicking.
You will need help. Well, that is not help. Jack 8-4, 2 diamonds. Kevin now picks up the nut flush draw. Go with the ace queen high.
We had the 10 of diamonds anyway, so he needed one of the other 10s, so it didn't do too bad to him.
He needs to avoid a diamond first. Well, that gives him a double gutter. King or 9.
That are not diamonds.
There is more outs. There's card to do it or no. And the Jack of Spades
Good luck, guys.
will
Good
seal his
Good
fate.
playing with you boys, man.
Well, Isildur will raise up 7s. Kevin flat ace-5 off from the button. David makes it 2.85 from the small. This could be trouble for Isildur here. 5-handed, about 30 bigs. David has squeezed. He's shocked if Isildur doesn't jam this one. Well, he has called.
Call.
Should have said be shocked if he doesn't play this one.
Call's interesting, but he is in position.
Right, that's it. Okay, he only has just a little bit of a pot back, but he knows, he should know roughly what the good flops are. Obviously, against jacks, he's in trouble. Well, queen, queen, 6. It's like curtains.
$1,250,000.
David bets 1.25. Should look back to Isildur.
Very interested to see how he plays this hand.
It's just kind of cool. Tyler, a big pot forming, 9.5 in the middle. Isildur with 6.7 back.
It's an interesting just call because you give your opponent a decent price to hit whatever he has that you beat.
Check.
On the flip side, though, you perhaps get to showdown when you are beat.
It is possible.
Either player with a spade.
David checks it, huh?
Isildur will bet 2.4 million.
$2,400,000.
Perhaps he'll get the showdown here and have 4.3 million back.
I'm constantly surprised by the superstars, the ability to play multiple streets on such a short stack.
Yeah, it's really eye-opening when you watch guys like Isildur play. They do get so many more decisions in a hand than you might expect. Because of that, I figure the more decisions you make, the bigger your edge. See 4.3 in there, 14.3 in the middle.
I'm all in.
All in. I guess he's trying to get David to hero him off with like ace king with a spade.
Bet, but
so thin.
Looks like David wants to fold.
So thin, this bet. You're risking your tournament life here.
There's no way Isildur thinks he's bluffing here, does he?
No.
It can't be.
No, it's not bluffing. Sure thinks he's up against, I guess, yes, some high card big spade.
4.3. Oh.
Wow.
Two pairs, queens and jacks.
Was just going for a super sick bluff, but I don't know what. It's still pretty deep. And yeah,
Wow.
David does just flat.
900.
Whoa, look at this hand. Now with the raise and the flat in there. I don't see him just calling here. I
No,
think
what
he's
we've
gonna
seen
try to play for stacks.
Definitely made some squeeze plays already today as well, and of course these guys will know all the hands that have been played. So,
Picking up calling chips.
900, right?
wow, just calls. And look at Viktor with ace 5 of diamonds, and he's got what,
That's
19
plenty good
big
hand.
blinds.
I mean, that's also a jammable spot.
Right,
Looks like he wants to just take it though to the flop.
and he's 4 hands four-handed. That we might have a 3
That's
bet.
unbelievable. Looked like he wanted to call right away. Now it looks like he wants to put it in. Nope, he decides that. I waited too long. I'm just going to call.
4-way flop, 4-hander game. Where we've got
They all have good hands.
ace 5 suited, ace king,
4-way.
and 2 pocket tens. Somehow we've not seen a 3 bet. Well, queen 6 deuce.
Who wins the pot?
The
Quick.
tens are
Quick.
chopping.
No, who's going to win the pot? Quick.
David.
Victor. Just pick the most unlikely.
You got me. We got a bet.
No, I'm not betting.
You got me.
I'm not betting.
1.8 million C bet. David does make the call.
Brutal spot for Jonathan.
Yeah. It's funny he folded that quick.
Yeah, I'm surprised too.
Really, a lot of the time there, David is calling with a smaller pocket pair. Just queen X. Could be queen some ace. Look at this. Kevin's not done yet. Firing. 4.4. Quick bet.
Some authority.
Now this gets a stupid spot for David, right?
Yeah.
This guy's C-bet 4-way and now wants to fire the turn into the chip leader.
4.4 million.
I mean, it looks so strong. And he might put some stock into what happened there physically, just grabbing the chips so quickly and authoritatively and fumbling them. And yep, he's not done yet.
Call.
Now is Kevin done? Kevin has over half the pot left in his stack. Is he gonna fire the last shell, empty the clip, as they say? No, he's not.
Does
He gives
check it
up.
down.
Pretty sure David's gonna give up also. Happy to turn the hand over.
Or maybe, I mean, this is the realm of turning in pretty good hands into random bluffs.
Absolutely, that's true.
Couldn't say
And
anything
he
today, but he
does
does check it back.
Ace high, ace king.
Let's see what Jonathan says when he sees those two
I tell you
tens.
about ace king. Never get it.
Wow, David now with 50 of the 80 million in play in his
Yeah,
stack.
that's a big one for him.
When I tell you about ace king, I never win with ace king. Give me deuce 3.
You never win with ace king, Isildur never wins with jacks.
Like every.
We saw Kevin did. It looked like he wanted to fold that ace queen,
All in.
but ace 9 is definitely going in. So here we go then. Kevin at risk of elimination. His ace 9 against David's king jack of clubs. Here we go then. Deuce 7-3. All good for Kevin. And the river pairs the deuce.
Ace high.
So
That's my boy.
another double up here. The art of the deal.
Heads up.
I mean, they definitely induce you here at Playground. It's not a tournament clock. It shows you at all times what,
Yeah.
what an even shot
Even
would be.
chop.
These guys are just like, let's just get it done.
Check. Check.
David checks back the ace of diamonds on the king 5-3 2 diamond board. Kevin is ahead with his pair of kings.
$1.8. Call.
David does call with his ace high on the turn. Jack on the river.
$3.5.
3.5.
Pretty quick bet yet again, 3.5 million.
Shut the bluff. It's good for the game.
Kevin raising king 7 from the small. David defends 10-6 from the big. Oh wow, what a flop for David. Top pair and a flush draw.
Check.
Check.
Kevin does check it on over.
1.3. Call.
Quick call from Kevin with the king 7 here.
Non-believer in the house. Queen on the turn does give him a gut shot.
Check.
It's not a card that Dave's going to like seeing too much, right? A lot of the check calls
Check.
do get improved by a queen.
Correct, and he does check it back.
And he
He's
makes
gonna
a
like
flush.
that one. Wonder if Kevin tries to bluff his way out of this hole he's got himself into. That is the case.
Here comes the raise.
Raise.
10 million. 10,500,000.
Kevin's like, I'm in this spot.
10,500,000.
How did I find myself here?
Find a 3-bet. You can do it. Oh, no.
Maybe. Maybe.
Again, David maintaining this chip lead. To 44 million. Don't think he's ready to chop it just yet.
Don't just jam it in, Victor.
He hasn't had to go for a few orbits, so it's only fair he gets them again.
Raise. 1.2. Fold, fold. Just put your cards in.
1.2.
Jonathan looks like he wants to play the
With
queen
11 big blinds, he's going to defend. The
Right.
reverse implied odds go out the window when you only have that many chips, so. Just trying to flop something and go with it.
Well, that's something. 3-4 Jack.
And here it comes. I think we're going to see it. Oh, check rep. Maybe just.
Check.
He does check. Here comes the bet.
I do think Jonathan's going to jam here.
Bet.
But I don't know. He might be one of those heroes who likes to play
All in.
3 streets with
All in.
9 big
I'll do it.
blinds.
Well, he will be called, and he is at risk now of being eliminated. Jonathan will need a queen or a 3.
I'm in trouble.
Otherwise, Victor's kings will eliminate him.
I got queen 3. So I got outs.
You do have
I got
outs.
outs.
5 of them.
2 times.
Oh, Jack on the turn. Removes the queen as an out. Just one of the remaining 3s will do it for Jonathan. And a king on the river just for good measure.
Pleasure playing with you.
Victor improves to king's full. Jonathan leaves us in 4th place. Picking up $90,000 for his troubles. Well, a very protracted 4-handed battle there.
Cheers, bud.
Oh, it was nice. It was nice to see Ape Styles back in the live arena.
Yep.
Call. Heads up.
Well, Viktor raises the 6-4 of clubs from the small blind. Kevin defends 5-4, and the 5-7-9 flop gives Viktor a straight draw. Kevin does have a pair, and well, looks like he wants to raise with bottom pair.
Raise 4 million.
Viktor snap calls.
Snap calls.
Just so quick, like you say.
I thought Viktor might consider putting it in there.
Pot size bet behind, and wow, what a turn card this is for Viktor. Gives him the straight. Kevin drawing now just a chop, but he's pulling out some more chips.
It's not going to slow him down, apparently.
2.5 the bet, and snap all in from Viktor.
And I think Kevin realizes that he's toast in his hand.
Bottom pair, you'd imagine
Going
so.
to give it
That
up.
was 2.5. You raise all in. Fold.
And he's kicking himself for betting again on the turn there.
Enough for Viktor to raise up, and well,
You raise all in.
Kevin does move all in.
Fold.
And here you go, Viktor snap calls. Viktor, King Jack of clubs against Kevin's ace-9. It's exactly the same spot Kevin doubled up before. And while Jack 8-3, Viktor flops top pair. Kevin now needing an ace. Well, he will leave us in third place. Well, 9 on the turn. Doesn't give him a couple extra outs.
Do it.
Well, river is a deuce. Kevin will be our third place finisher here.
You got lucky.
He's going to walk off with $120,000.
I started the shuffle. I didn't mean to.
I need a break. Can we just take a break now? You want a break?
No, yeah.
Well, yeah, we're going to have a scheduled break anyway.
Yeah.
Together we are going to quickly hear from Marinella. I'm guessing she's going to grab Kevin on his way out before we go on this break.
Call. Check.
Oh, David's employing the button limp strategy, heads up.
I'm surprised this deep though. Let's see if they maybe got to 30 big blinds, but 60 plus bigs deep. Well, Viktor will fire out with his open-ended straight draw.
This could be all over right here. I'm just kidding. Okay, we got to call him, David.
Well, David, I think, is very content to play as many pots as possible against Viktor.
That's
Keep
what it
things
looks
small.
like.
Look at this. 3.6 million into 4.2. I think he overbet the flop as well, just a little bit bigger than the pot. Well, David going nowhere with bottom pair.
Call.
$11.4 in the pot going to the river. It is a 4. Let's give Viktor a pair.
Check.
Checks it. I can't imagine David doing anything but
One pair.
checking. And there it is.
Pair fours.
Well, David pulling out a 3-bet from the big blind with Queen 5.
Raise. 4.5.
Kind of a big open and kind of a small 3-bet.
You're right. Less than 3x out of position.
Viktor calls the 3-bet with the 9-6 off.
As you say, didn't make it cheap for him.
It was getting a good price in position.
Well, ace 9-4 now takes the lead with his pair of 9s.
And David's going to have to continue with the ace.
Right, it's the first time he's 3-bet heads up. You can't have you not go barreling at this ace.
Yeah.
3.7.
It does go small, which
Get
makes
at
sense.
least one call.
Call.
So a big pot brewing here, 16.4 in the middle. Oh, good card for Viktor. Yeah, less likely David can have an ace.
And take some credibility away. It is a 3-bet pot. He could go for all 3 streets.
He's lining something up. 6.9 million the bet.
Yeah,
Actually,
many
basically
chips
betting
behind?
Victor's
I
hand.
can't see behind there.
6.9.
I have 27 more. Or I have this, but
That is 6.9 million. They both have about 30 left in their stack.
It's a real tough spot here for Victor.
It is. That is a good card for him. It takes some credibility away from David, but
Time extension. Fold.
it's still a tough spot. If he calls, he might be facing a shove on the river, or at least another 10.
Yeah, can't begrudge him folding that. And so David crawling up towards 50 mil.
You give David credit.
Lead. Yeah, it was a strong play. I think even though he got called in the flop there, it was the first 3-bet pot.
Yeah.
He's coming forward. Just thought, well, I'm going to follow through on this one. Victor has to give me some sort of respect.
1.6.
David will raise it up. Victor defends Jack 4 and Jack 9, 7. Each player makes top pair.
Check. 1.3.
David does make a C-bet.
Call.
Victor calls. Wow, 5 on the turn.
Check.
David in great shape here.
Spell doom for Victor. That's a tough one.
5.8 in the pot. All depends how big David goes here.
3.8.
There we go. Victor quickly calls. So 13.4 in the pot. Victor has 19 million behind going into this river.
There's some rivers that could save him.
Oh, that's one of them. Just as David was thinking, how much can I bet on this river? How much am I going to get paid? I'm going to be close to winning. Can I still bet this?
Oh yeah, now it's going to be back down to 3.8 or whatever.
I call.
Call.
4.2. Chop it up, boys.
2. Go. Jack
Chop it
and
up.
7.
Chop it up.
The chop.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking they change these chips up so they can play the 350, 700 level, but is there any point someone's going to fold the button? Hey, surely you're going to at least call anyway. Might as well just be 700, 700.
We should have done it.
There it is, the
Look at
trophy
that
here.
thing.
Party
That's pretty
Poker
cool.
Millions North America High Roller Champion. Bit of a mouthful.
No hearts or spades on there, huh? Just diamonds and clubs?
Just diamonds and clubs, buddy.
That was some high-level art that I do not understand. But I like it.
I'll explain it to you later.
Really? Oh, thanks.
Decode it for you.
It looks like it needs decoding.
First final table here of the festival. Playground Poker Club Montreal.
Call. Call.
Call. Option. Raise 2 million total.
Okay, Victor limps in. David raising up to 2 million.
Do all the Party Poker Millions North America trophies look the same, or is that just the high roller trophy?
Yep, they all look the same as that. So you got a chance, Tyler.
All right.
1K day 2 tomorrow. You and just a few other 100 people are playing in. You get him, buddy.
I have more chips than most of them.
Raise.
It's true.
1.9. Raise all in.
Well, this could be it. David's raised. Victor has moved all in.
Count.
Instantly moves all in. I mean, David asking for a count, but I can't imagine whatever the answer would be that he'd ever fold a pair of tens, so heads up against Victor.
25-4.
No, of course not. He's definitely
25-4 total.
Yeah.
It's more than that.
Still thinking, but he does make the call, Tyler. Here we go. Victor at risk with his ace-3. David's tens, if they were to hold, would crown him the champion here of our high roller.
Sorry?
Of course, if Victor were to spike that ace, he would take the chip lead heads up, 50 to 30. Not much emotion being shown at the moment.
A little bit of frustration from Victor. He thinks he got slow rolled. With, David thinking about that.
Well, 10-9-6 flop. That's a pretty good window, Cobb, when you got 10s against ace-3.
There's a chop run out.
It is, yeah, 7-8 for a chop, but well, here it comes. Tyler's called it in.
Oh,
An 8 for the chop. Any other card, and David will be our champion. Jack of spades on the river. That is it. Victor Ramdin finishes in second place. He will pick up $180,000. But it is David Eldridge who wins this title, the $300,000. And he will forevermore be the Party Poker Live Millions in North America High Roller Champion.
2018.
If he can, get that out any bars to show off, then good luck to him.
180,000 is not a bad consolation prize. Good start for Victor to the trip.
Yeah, and as you said, he's not been playing much lately, but he said he's back, and he's back with a bang here.
All right.
Second place finish in a 10K. Always good, and of course, the 25K tomorrow may, of course, see him in there now with that money in his pocket.
Seems pretty likely.
And you go, David.
Nice win for David. Texting his buddies, his wife, girlfriend, I don't know.
They were obviously watching as we are half an hour behind. They're going to text out, don't worry, guys, it's over. You don't have to send me any more hands. I've won it. It's a pretty nice feeling. See if Anna can grab him real quick. I was impressed, though, on the final, Tyler. He seemed to be the one that's most in control through this final table. Obviously, made that big bluff on Victor earlier on when it was still about six-handed.